Hey, welcome everyone to BTF. It's been a very, very, very long time since I've had an interview on this channel, but I've recently been inspired by my fellow co-host now on the channel, Jesse. Welcome, Jesse, to BTF. I'm glad you kind
Man,
of re-inspired me to bring this thing back to life.
I'm happy to be here, man. Thanks for including me on this. I was glad, what do you call it? Kismet that I brought it up,
Yeah.
and that it was perfect timing, man.
It was interesting because I had Jesse on the row a while back, and Jesse had talked about wanting to get into doing live streams and starting up a podcast, something in the vein of Joe Rogan and all these other great ones that have these cool conversations with these awesome people, which is something I've been doing for a long time. So we got to talking. I was like, well, I already have a platform, a podcast that's been doing this. We can start fresh and completely go groundwork from the beginning, or we can just tap into that. Jesse's like, let's do it. So BTF is alive again.
Yeah.
Finally, thankfully, I love BTF. I'm glad we're doing this. And our first guest back with this new format is the awesome Neil Newbon. Welcome to the show, Neil.
Hey man, what's going on, brother?
We've talked
BTF,
yes.
BTF, right? Is that like bacon tomato focaccia?
Sure, yeah. It's all in a nice little sandwich there.
Nice and wholesome. Yeah, it's got gluten, but hey,
it's good for.
Is that like a normal? Is that a sandwich they eat in the UK a lot, like bacon tomato?
Oh fuck yeah, man!
Yeah.
Bacon. Well, actually, we call it a bacon. What do we call it? A bacon butty.
A bacon butty
sandwich.
Bacon
yeah, but it's a fucking. It's a guilty secret, man.
Yeah.
You eat soul food without like being good for you in the slightest. It's just. Like, and then you do really weird shit. Like where I come from originally, they use like brown sauce and red sauce. You probably don't. I don't know if you have brown sauce.
No, you gotta explain this to me.
It's tangy. There's a tang to it, and it takes a certain kind of like trained palate. Like we start young, like 5-6 years old, maybe. You gotta train that palate up to get
like
that
Vegemite.
Tang. Fuck Vegemite, man. Vegemite, Marmite. No. This is a different kind of. This is like edible.
It's just brown sauce.
Fuck that guy! Fuck that guy! Vegemite, fuck that guy!
Fuck.
You hear what he said about fucking Vegemite? Fuck that guy!
Honestly,
yo, dude, we love Vegemite over here.
I think most people know Vegemite from the song from Men Down Under.
So, it's an Australian thing, man. Thanks for. I digress. This is a whole fucking ramble. You don't need it. We'll just be click, click, click. You just edit that shit out. Hi, man. Thank you very much for inviting me on to your show. That's cool. Thank you very much. Good luck for the future.
Thank you.
Especially after this interview. But yeah, I really appreciate you asking me on. And yeah, nice to see you too, man. Well, I know both of you anyway, so it's good to see you again.
Yeah, we've talked several times. We've done some stuff outside of the channel, like your Streamily stuff, which is going well.
Thank you very much.
I know you've dived into a lot of Twitch streams and stuff too. You're kind of doing the similar thing with bringing on some of your actors, people who are not as well known, or people that you've worked with that people recognize, just bringing them on and hanging out. And that's the same thing we like to do here, is just dive into fandoms that people may not have heard of, or ones that people love, and just get the behind the scenes stuff, get to know the actors better, get to know the musicians.
Yeah, I think it's cool, especially like, games is bigger than the film and music industry combined. Like everybody played a game. I think like almost everybody on the planet under a certain age has played some kind of game or involved in game methodology or game mechanics. Like even shopping is kind of playing a game with loyalty card systems and all that kind of shit, like Facebook and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah,
it absolutely is. Yeah.
I think it's cool that people, the doors are open basically.
Yeah.
Where for a long time, like we were quite hidden, especially actors in games. It was a bit of a weird thing.
Yeah.
So it's nice to sort of get that. And I'm going to caveat it. I'm not a professional streamer, and if you watch my shows, you know why. But I like sort of talking about the stuff I'm passionate about, and also helping other actors who are up and coming, because I got a lot of help when I was a younger actor, and I think it's cool, man, to pass it along. So I've just noticed I have like puncture marks all over my head from today's stunts.
Yeah, did you get beat up at work?
No, I was like I was in a soft cap today, and we were doing some heavy hits. There was like a big thing, but it was just like boom, like a few times. I just realized I have like boom, boom, boom all over.
What was some of the stunts you had to do today?
I can't talk about it
at all. Can't even tell us stunts.
Great stunts, but I can't talk about it, man. So I can actually make shit up. I was like, it was great. I was like set on fire, which is unnecessary in mocap, but I did it anyway.
It's just your average Friday.
Right.
Saturday.
But I have like, this is actually burn marks.
Here, one question: were you suspended in the air at all today?
That's a very private question, which we can have after this. But, you mean for the work?
Oh yeah.
For the work.
Oh no, either way, man.
This is all
whatever you're willing to divulge.
Either way. This is just all freestyle stuff. So we're
Cool,
just
man.
myself and the
Nice.
performer just doing our thing. It's great.
Oh,
It's playground stuff. I actually call it a playground.
That's great. That's a great name for it.
Yeah, it is. And you just
Makes sense.
especially in like in-game mechanics, locomotion, that kind of stuff, stunts as well, and combat and stuff. When you're setting up stuff that isn't like big gags and it's combat heavy and whatnot, like slides, power slides, like, you know, shooting or, you know, different forms and shit, vaulting, climbing, you know, all that kind of stuff, falling, a lot of crashes and trampette jumps and shit like that. Fun stuff. It's a playground. So we just set up, like, sometimes on the day I'll set up like a good hour or so to just basically set up all these different pieces of equipment under the supervision of the director at the time and everything. And then I just play for like 20 minutes. You know, we do like 2-3 takes, 5 minutes each, and we just literally use these things to capture as many of the different movements we know coming. And it's fun, you know, it's exhausting. It's really fun. Yeah.
It's funny. When I was a kid, I actually got in trouble for this. You're talking about playing. I used
Realize
to
you're on camera right now.
Yeah, I know. I know.
That's one time I set on fire a municipal building.
It was all for a stunt.
It's all for a gag.
We lived out in the country. We had this big barn that was just full of just stuff. My stepdad, who's, you know, he's my dad. He's been my dad for a long time. He you know, he built race cars and he built monster trucks.
Cool.
He just loved to build stuff. And not only that, it was
trucks.
it's just like he took an old like 80s Astro van and put it on like 46-inch tires and giant lips.
So badass.
Yeah, it was
Completely
crazy.
unnecessary.
Yeah, exactly. Never drove it.
What is the biggest completely unnecessary tire I can fit to this fucking machine?
That thing was
Pick you up from school on that.
Monster, yeah. Or his race cars. He built race cars all the time to go race local dirt tracks and stuff. And but then there was all the farm equipment. There was like my workout equipment. But I used to go in there and it was like a playground for me. I would go in and just run and jump and just do flips and throw myself into things, you know, acting out stunt performance in my head for movies, you know, because I love Jackie Chan. I love watching all these guys growing up. So I would go reenact all this stuff. And of course, I get the question one day. He comes in, he's like, "Why are there footprints on the roof of my truck in the barn?" I was like, "I don't know why there'd be footprints." I'm the only other person in the house.
Chicken coop completely demolished. And the chickens are now over there. I mean, yeah, the funny thing about stunts and stuff is that, you know, you need to be well trained at whatever it is you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know your capabilities.
Yeah.
You also need to engage with the fact that you're not doing it once. You're doing it like 10, 20 times, especially in mocap, because you can make it a lot safer than film and TV. I was a part of the stunt crew on Gangs of London, which was a Sky Atlantic thing, which was really good. Very brutal, and some of the stunts in there are extraordinary, far beyond my talent. You know, amazing people. Nick McKinless was one of the stunt coordinators, who's absolutely incredible that I worked with, and I've worked with him on Horizon Zero Dawn as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff's fucking brutal. You know, at one point Nick was just trying shit out in a corridor with a whole like 12 of us. And he just like grabbed me because, you know, you want to try stuff. So he just grabbed one of the nearest guys, which was me.
Yeah.
He just like took my face and just slammed it against this wall and just dragged it down the wall. So we could do this because all the wall stuff is peeling.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this building has asbestos. We're not sure, but I'm pretty sure, you know, it's basically a derelict wreck which we used for this like nightclub in a, you know, squat party kind of thing. And so you can get, you know, you can't really get away. You just have to do it, you know, with padding and shit and practice. Whereas in mocap and performance capture, you can pad the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be like, you know, doing crazy stuff.
Yeah. Or in a location that's in the volume. Yeah.
Well, you don't have to.
You're not hanging on the hood of a car.
Yeah.
Well, you do. Yeah, you are. But the car ain't moving.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's not going
They can
70,
put a gimbal on it or whatever, a gyro on it. But, you know, so it's a lot safer in that sense. But that means you also do it a shit ton more.
Yeah.
And you also don't get, you know, you don't get the danger money in that way. You don't get like, you know,
right.
every time like a guy jumps off a building, that's like $2,000 right there, bam, you know, or whatever the thing is.
For
you know?
sure.
I'm just picking numbers out the air, but you know, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really fun. Those days are great, but yeah. It's a bit full on.
Well,
Let me ask you a question. Let's watch the reel.
Yeah,
let's
let's
watch
go to the
reel
demo
first.
real quick. I want to
all right,
sure
good
you
luck
guys can
everybody.
hear
I'm
this.
gonna make a drink while you watch it because
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. I'm gonna share the screen here.
Doesn't take much to feel the rush with nothing but your eyes on it. How about we do just like we do? Too crazy for
worse than having to choose between two. Bring me a coffee, dipshit. Get a move on! Stay out of my way. Next time, you won't get off so easy. My name's Astarion. I don't think poison's for me. Nor stabbing, come to think of it. I always felt decapitation was a fine choice. One good swing and then nothing. You're not going to eviscerate him. I was hoping for a show. Certainly one to remember. Or forget, preferably. I never pictured myself as a hero. And now that I'm here, I hate it. This is awful. Because if you don't know that, you may as well sign over your soul now. Let's see what you're really made of. Ethos. Let's see what you're really made of. Ethos.
Get ready.
No, wait! Lady, supersized bitch. Ugly ass psycho doll. An emeronic freak. Here we are! And I'm next in line, right? Kill me, move up the chain. Well, fuck that! You and me, then. Together, we can go save roads, and we can use her to grind Miranda into paste. Lycans and gentlemen, we thank you for waiting. And now let the games begin. Your few.
Nicholai, how are we doing?
The Don's crawling with those streets.
Why is she here?
You're not going to stop me. Promised you this, didn't I? Oh. Hello. I hope we had fun last night, Pet.
Top of the fucking morning to you two.
Virgil?
No! You betrayed us, human. Ape. Peace.
A lot of awesome stuff in there. A lot of stuff that I'm familiar with.
No, thanks, man.
And it's interesting, like we were talking before, I love seeing the behind the scenes stuff, especially the volume, the motion capture, the stunt work. All that's very, very interesting that people don't get to see very often. So
yeah, the doors are being opened now, which is really nice. So people are seeing a lot more. But yeah, I'm with you. I think it's fascinating, that world.
I'm glad that we're seeing that more come in. This stuff is hard to find. If you go back 10, 15 years, you know, if it's
there's not much of it.
Yeah, if it's not, you know, at the level where. Remember when Jackie Chan made that whole video about just his team? It was just an awesome video showing how they did everything in his warehouse and the guys he always works with. That was so interesting back then, and it's like cool to see that now we're seeing that more. The professional side behind the scenes. and a lot of good stuff.
This
in
is
your
more
show.
accessible now as well. You know, everybody has
YouTube.
smartphones and
Smartphones.
and YouTube, but also places to to distribute it more than anything else. You know
Right.
what I mean? So like Twitch and all that kind of stuff, and YouTube and whatnot. It's just accessible now, which is really cool.
Isn't it crazy how this whole like business, this whole ecosystem of business like grows? Like I guess so like following sports, you know, like ESPN, Fox Sports News or whatever, like all these businesses grow sort of like out of the ecosystem of sports. And all these Twitch streamers and all these video game things, and now these videos that they're putting out, there's all these different kind of ways you can like essentially like there's Resident Evil, but then there's Resident Evil, you guys have Rokon, and then there's all these different kind of like offshoots that like
Yeah.
get created. It becomes something where people can create businesses off of each other.
Yeah.
I think David Bowie said this back in the 90s. Like he was a visionary, really. I mean, wasn't even a part of like the internet revolution or anything.
Yeah.
But people like him were talking about this in the 90s with the dawn of it. And a lot of people could see the interactivity that all this creates. And, you know, ultimately it's a wonderful thing.
Right. Yeah.
There is a lot of problems with it. There are some dangers with it, but ultimately I fundamentally think it's a force of good, because there's a lot of information that people have now that they would not necessarily denied access to, but just didn't have.
Right.
Whereas now all you have to do is have a reasonably good phone. You have the whole world's knowledge at your fingertips, which is cool. But in terms of like our industry for games and things like that, like I saw 11 years ago where this was going. And being a gamer since I was a kid, seeing like with each new generation of software and programs and ability and all that kind of stuff, like the rendering and fidelity of like photorealism and all that kind of stuff, like getting rid of uncanny valley sometimes completely,
Yeah.
which is itself quite a feat. That I saw in terms of performance where this was going to lead, and ultimately I knew that games weren't going to go away, that I saw them as a valid art form, as a new medium of storytelling, because they've always been like that. And, you know, I was a role player as a kid and stuff. And it's just like, it was great to be a part of something that was still quite early, not early in terms of technology, that'd been around for a while, but early in terms of a performer coming into this.
Yeah.
Because most people said, like, I even asked like friends of mine who were struggling in theater and shit to come on board and said, listen, I'm doing this thing, it's fucking amazing. And people were like, no, it's not really acting, it's not really performance, it's not really storytelling. And they were worried it would like damage their careers and shit. So, it's like, cool, you keep doing the thing you're doing, you know.
You'll just sit there and ride the waves.
Just waiting for a job.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this, and I'm really glad I embraced it. And you know, like Jesse, I'm a character actor.
Yeah.
And on TV and film, it's very hard for me to get character roles because of just the way that I look. I just don't have that face. You know, I play villains a lot in both everything. That I do. The resting psycho face, like Jesse. But you know, yeah, it's genetics, folks. But you know, and the look in the eyes. But it's that thing of like, games gave me so much, and they still do, and I still do TV and film as well. Don't get me wrong, I love it. But games gave me so much time and ability and characters, because there was nobody else at the time. There were only a few of us were doing it, especially certainly in the UK. There was like maybe a dozen of us over the whole of the UK doing mocap work regularly. And we would just said, well, you're doing this today, you're doing that today, you're doing this. Like, cool, okay, I have to play a 6-year-old man, or I have to play this character, I have to play a 30-foot frost monster.
Right.
You just like in that role because they knew you were a good actor and a movement specialist and etc. So they knew that you had the ability in you. It was just like, you're doing this now. It's like, okay, I'm doing this now. Because, you know, in the best possible way. So that in itself was like interesting training on top of the training that I've already done as an actor over like, you know, decade, 15 years almost of like in and out of training constantly and trying new tools and shit. So yeah, it was wild. It was great.
Dude, I mean, as an actor myself, you know, man, like in getting Resident Evil, I was kind of, like you said, it's like I was in the theater, right? Like I was someone who like studied for 3 years straight at Stella Adler, and you know, loved doing Clifford Odets and you know, and Arthur Miller and Eugene O'Neill and like and then I don't know, I guess getting thrusted into that and then being, it's like sometimes my personal, like, you know, when I'm hard on myself is that like sometimes I feel like life is passing before me and I'm like just trying to keep up. And then so like you know, it's kind of like thrown into this abyss of motion capture and then like and then discovering this whole entire world, which I actually fit pretty well into. you
Well, it's
know.
theater and film together, man.
It
It's
really
like
is, yeah.
You take the. So I'm a bit tired, by the way. I'm on like 7 projects at the moment. I'm fucked.
Dude, it's
So I'm a
great
little
to talk to
tired.
you
I'm a little
about it,
like
though.
low energy. It's like I'm just probably.
Nah, man.
Yeah, I'm a bit tired. Sorry, mate. Yeah, because it's the best of theater and the best of film smashed
Right.
together, with like interactivity in a way that, and also this fourth dimension idea, because you can take a performance in this scene that's innocuous and just in the background, you can whack it into this scene, you can duplicate it, you can put different character skins on it, you can take this moment here, as you can in film editing, I guess, but in a different, you completely put it in a whole different environment.
Yeah, definitely.
You can change the environment like within seconds. You know, it's like, it's really, it's a wide, I like it. I think it's fourth dimensional, and I think it's, I really believe, I coined a term from somebody else started the term. I didn't come up with it, sadly, but I coined the term synthespian, and it's completely conceited.
Brilliant.
Yeah, but it's totally conceited. It's bullshit. Yeah, but I like it.
I buy it.
Yeah, I buy it, right? Because I like it because it actually, it kind of like sort of in a short way defines what you do. Yeah, kind of in a really conceited manner. It's like, I'm a synthespian. I have to act now. You know, it's like that kind of shit, right? But I think it's interesting because I teach now as well. I mentor people, just short workshops, because that's all you need, quite frankly. Just a couple of days ago, this is all the technology. This is how it all works. Bring your craft to it. And if you need to be a better craftsperson, go and study it, you know, properly at these schools, or go and learn weapon skills at this armory for 3 weeks minimum, blah, 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 blah. So, you know, it's like, that's it. It's just, it is a new acting medium based on this, standing on the shoulders of all the other acting mediums that have gone before it. And it really pulls in a lot from everything, really, you know, from creature work to combat, stunts, to pure acting, like hardcore cinematics and performance capture, with the intricacy of film, because you're wearing a head-mounted camera that has a close-up permanently on you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
the wide, which is like playing in the round, like theater. Yeah. So I dig it, man. That's great. Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly how it is. Yeah, when we're out there on the floor doing the deal. And dude, I just like you know, do you feel validated? Like, because like I know, well, because I mean, like I know, like I don't know what it was like for you as an actor, but like I had to go through, for me personally, just from where I was from and how I grew up, I had to go through a process to like discover that I was an actor. Like I always knew I love it, but then also like get the balls, so to speak, to go after it, you know, and it wasn't so cultivated. But then also then I'm like, okay, I got, and so, you know, every little, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, you know, I do have, whether it's manufactured or whatever, a bit of a chip on my shoulder. So every time I validate myself a little bit, it's always like, yeah. And to see you like what we're talking about here, like where I say, like, I feel like I'm thrown into the abyss of mocap, and then I see you and it's like, dude, Neil saw this.
Yeah.
Like you said, you saw it 10, 11 years ago, and you've watched it grow up around you. You know, like
I saw it. Yeah. I mean, I saw it in, when I saw it before I even started doing it. I kind of remember this article, which is how I discovered mocap. It was about voice acting. It wasn't about mocap. And exactly. One little picture right at the bottom of the article was about a mocap stage. I was reading this article going, what the fuck am I not doing voice work? I should do voice work. I have a good voice. Blah, blah, blah. All that kind of shit, right? And I saw this little picture and went, what the fuck is that? And it instantly made sense to me. I was like, well, those are cameras. They're all fixed. So that's called motion capture. Okay, all right. So that is capturing motion for animatic. Oh, okay, they do that in games. I didn't know that. Okay, interesting. Well, that also looks like a theater stage to me. And that looks like a digital costume and a digital makeup. So, okay, that makes I can do all of that. I can do that. And I have this ridiculous wide skill set of like really geeky skills like archery and like martial arts and shit like that. I was like, well, I can do all of this shit. Like, why I should do that? So I got in touch with that company, Audio Motion. Brian Mitchell, actually Stacey Boiselle, who's the old producer there who's left now, but Brian Mitchell really started my career and actually championed me for many years in motion capture. Without Audio Motion, I wouldn't have a career in mocap. I can say that quite honestly, really. And you know, it just made sense instantly. Like in the first day I was on set, obviously I had to learn a lot of stuff, but it all made sense in a way. It was like, okay, get that. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, cool. I don't know what it is. I was just born to do performance capture.
Yeah,
I was like, that is my speciality, and I've just flown in it. And it's given me opportunities that, you know, God bless TV and film is amazing. That was killing myself trying to get in TV and film.
Yeah. Right.
Whereas in performance capture was like, cool. come, try this, try that, try this, try that.
Right,
It's
and then
just
you can
great.
branch into TV and film too, because we're seeing that with like Andy Serkis and Terry Notary.
Well, listen,
Yeah,
here's the thing
yeah.
about Andy, man. Andy was around a long time.
Well, yeah, I know
before
Andy
Lord of the
Serkis.
Rings.
I know
He was
he's
like theater actor,
he's
film
OG.
actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was like super established.
Right.
There's a thing in America when you come over, and very famously MTV gave Best Newcomer to
Christoph Waltz.
no, well that too, probably, but also to Sir Ben Kingsley.
Oh my
God. And it was like, and apparently he came out to the stage, he took it and went, "Thank you very much." He just looked down and went, "Best Newcomer, huh?"
Yeah,
I was
right.
like, he'd been in. It's like same thing with like Patrick Stewart. He'd
Yeah.
been doing hardcore fucking
you
RSC
imagine,
Shakespeare
dude?
for 20 fucking years.
Right.
Like he was in films. I mean, he's like, So,
Yeah.
so there's a certain amount of like.
No, I know Andy Serkis isn't like the best example, but though that's like
And he's a good example because like a lot of us, he saw the future.
Yeah.
And unlike a lot of us, he had the profile and the connections to do something, which was the Imaginarium. Having worked with Weta and seeing their model, you went, "Fuck, we should do that." And he and Jonathan Cavendish started the Imaginarium years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's under different ownership and stuff, but it's they saw the future of performance.
Man, those guys,
I've worked with Andy. I worked on Planet of the Apes: Last
Yeah,
Frontier,
yeah.
and he was the exec
Yeah.
on it. And he came down. Woody Harrelson came down, which was a trip.
Yeah.
And it was Woody's cool. He's cool.
Yeah.
He's ridiculous. I've never seen anybody wear flip flops and like velour blue like suits or something like that, and just look cool. You're like, you should not wear
just
that.
owns
and
it.
look cool.
Yeah.
You are just deeply fucking cool.
Hey, it's Woody, man.
It's fucking Woody. I should caveat, I'm not a friend. I met him a couple of
Yeah,
times.
met him.
We went to the
Yeah,
pub.
no, we got
I
it,
know
yeah.
the guy intimately. I like him enormously, obviously. So Andy, he had the vision of it.
Yeah.
And even at that point, the audio motion was there before. There were still stages and studios across the world, not many, that already existed, that were already doing this work. So yeah, it's interesting that it just takes a few things for suddenly something like this to suddenly explode. And it really was like Andy's work, like Mark Ruffalo, who I adore as an actor, stepped in for the Hulk and did the whole first time an actor did the whole performance in the animation.
Yeah.
Right.
Like your Banner and then Hulk. And he did that, man. It was fucking kudos to him.
I know,
And
like
then
Thanos.
Yeah, but now it's like mainstay. Now it's like an assumption
Right.
that is that mocap. Actually, sometimes interesting when you tell people actually it's just keyframe. That's not mocap at all. It's interesting when you get that division now. But that comparison. But it's become a cool thing. I do mentor. I've got an academy. Well, not academy, but it's like we call it the academy, but we just do workshops and stuff. And we get like every course is packed out. We get like a lot of requests every month just to sort of when's the next course. And it's great to see a lot of kids that are coming up and acting, that are doing TV and film successfully, but still want to try this stuff. So yeah, long may it last, man.
Man, you saw it.
Yeah.
What's interesting about that, talking and it just kind of clicked in my head, and this is this is probably the worst way to say this and not entirely not accurate at all, but it feels like
I'm really sweaty. I know. I literally, if you had smell-o-vision, like I come straight from the shoot. I drove like 2 hours home. I'm still covered in the veneer sheen.
This is what the life of an actor
my
is.
work.
right.
Yeah.
I smell so bad that even like the cat that I don't own, that comes into my backyard, is just saying, "Not today,
Not today. Yeah, not today. It's pretty ripe over there.
Dude needs
I'm
a
basically
break.
it's struggling. I don't own the cat. I can't say fucking straight. But not
Well, I
today.
was thinking video games, and just not video games like specifically, but the process of making a video game or something that's animated with performance capture is kind of like all aspects of acting. Because you've got vocal performance, you've got the physical performance, you've got the makeup, because you've got the digital work that's going to create the character, as well as costumes. You've got stunt performance. I mean, it really is. It's and it's a theater performance too, like you said, being in the void. It's an encapsulation of everything that might be even more of acting than I would say in a movie or a TV show or something, because there's so many more aspects to it.
Yeah, you get more time. I actually refer to it when I teach kids or like advise people, what have you. Children, they're fucking adults. I'm so young.
You just look like children. Isn't it crazy when you see an 18-year-old
I was
kid?
fucking doing shit when they were like not even
See this 18-year-old kid looks like 12, and you're like, damn, what was I doing when I was that age?
You were born in the noughties? What the fuck are you talking about? Nobody was born in the noughties. Yeah, so like, it's Yeah, it is. It's I teach, we tell people it's literally you'll spend more time in the volume working in one day than you ever would in theater, film, or television. Like TV, like TV that I don't care so much. I've heard of story. I've actually been witness to 24 pages in a day, which is ludicrous.
Oh, wow.
Film, maybe you do a scene a day, maybe do a bit of a scene in one day. Who knows? It depends on the size of the film, I guess. And theater, maybe you do 2 runs, a matinee and a evening, whatever. Whereas in motion capture and performance capture, you have the time to rehearse it and get it to a good quality level. You do maybe 3, 4, 5 takes if you need to, whatever. And then bam, 10 minutes later, you're on a new scene and starting the whole process again. You spend more time pure acting in performance capture than any other medium, including radio and everything, It's like 10 hours of like work.
Yeah. And don't you find, do you like, what kind of, like, do you have a shorthand that you use when you're working, like a kind of like a, how do I say that?
I can take the shorthand that Steve Kniebly, who's director of RE3 and
yeah.
So I go up to him and go, Steve, I've got a great idea. And he goes, no. He goes, okay, show me one. He just goes, okay, one time. No. It's usually what he says as a shorthand. I have batshit crazy ideas. I'm going to caveat that. Steve is correct to tell me no, but Steve's very good. He gives me he gives me one take if he's got time, just to.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I liked working with him.
Great. He's smart. Steve is one of my all-time favorite directors.
Smart guy. Yeah, smart guy for sure.
But also he's talented. He likes actors, and he's very good with taste, and understands the creative, organic process, and he's just a really fantastic director to work with. So actors out there, if you work with Steve Kniebly, you'll be very lucky.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be talking to him soon and diving into his perspective as a director, because it's not something I've discussed before. I want to talk about your start, because you've been doing this for a long time. You've been acting for a very long time. What inspired you?
I'm so old.
You're so old.
The end is so much closer now.
But you look so good for your age.
OG, triple OG.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
What inspired you? To go into this career?
Into acting? Fuck, I wanted to be an actor.
In general,
I wanted to be an actor since I was 8. I can tell you exactly the moment I wanted to be an actor.
Yeah, what was that that click in your life that said, you know what, I'm going to do that?
Yeah, I was 8 years old. Myself and my twin brother and my mum went to go and see the original version of Cats, like the original in London original version of Cats.
Yeah, okay.
And Brian Blessed was in the cast. He plays the old grumpy cat, the old like tramp cat shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he did this cool thing. I don't know whether anybody asked him whether it was his idea. I don't know. I'm curious about that. But he would stay on stage because the last scene of the first act or whatever it is, the first half, ends with him. And then he'd just stay on stage. And then he invited, or like, the ushers, whatever, invited all the kids to go and talk to him.
Huh.
And it was just like, that's just so. And then apparently, like, I remember this actually. I do remember this. I'm really fucking polite, right? I'm British, but even for a British person, I'm pretty polite and well mannered. Because I like it. I think it gives you a lot of power.
Just being a good person. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a respect thing, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, my mum just like watched me go downstairs, and Brian Blessing's like this enormous, hello, yes, what's your name? What kind of shit, right? So I'm just like, wow, and I got a bit like overawed with him, and then I noticed like there was a line of kids, and I was like, okay, and then I was like in this line, and then I started letting all the kids go past. Like one after the other. No, you go ahead. I'm 8 years old.
Yeah, you're
right?
absorbing all this information too.
Yeah, my mum's looking down like, what the fuck is he doing? Just talk to the guy and fuck off and get some ice cream, come back, whatever you do, go to the toilet, what are you doing? And I was just like, and I left. I literally, it was the whole interval until like the last kid went, and then I became the last kid.
Yeah.
Right. So I went up on stage, and he went, "Hello, you're a very polite young man." And I was like, I can't even remember what I asked him. He goes, and I told him his name, and I don't know what the fuck I asked him, actually. I can't ever remember. I don't know what it is. I don't even know if I actually asked a question. It was just this amazing presence of this creature that was half man, half imagination.
Yeah. And
just being fucking blown away by that. Just like the whole thing just blew my little tiny 8-year-old head apart. And I went back upstairs, like, just like, wow, like this. Like, sat down next to my twin, my mum. And my mum just went, why did you let all those children in front of you? And I said, because I just wanted it to be he and I on the stage,
Yeah.
nobody else.
Ah.
And it was that moment I went, it's performance. It's about the performance of it. And it was about the fact that he has this incredible fucking energy that you can't take your eyes off. And he's telling a story even when he's just sitting there.
Right.
I just got, my head was just blown apart. And that was it. That was the moment where, you know, the seed was planted, man. When I was 15, I was lucky enough to be auditioned by Ed Wilson, who's sadly not with us. He was an amazing human being and very cool. And he was the head of the National Youth Theatre. And at 15, I auditioned for National Youth Theatre. And I got in and I went down to London to do their workshop for like a whole month or a month and a half. And live in London as like a 15-year-old kid, 16, I think it was 16. And then the year after I did a play, and then the year after did another play, like sacrificing my summer holidays to go to London, you know, with this huge troop of other teenagers. Stories I'm not going to tell you. So to do these plays, and it was just amazing. It was just exhilarating. And then from that, I got an agent when I was like 19. I think it was 19, turning 20. I've been saving up money, and because I was just like 8 years old, I was like, London, I'm coming to London. I'm not from London originally, but I was like, I'm coming to London. That's where I need to live, and I love it, the buzz around it, etc. And yeah, man, I saved up my money for a year, and I just moved to London. That was it. Yeah, and I was lucky enough to get an agent, lucky enough to get work pretty quickly as well, and just started working TV and film and theatre.
Yeah, you just went for it. You just completely.
Well, I just, you know what, I was like the first professional job I ever did, I was 14, and then I did another one when I was 17. It was just like bits and pieces, really.
Yeah.
But it gave me enough to know that I can do this. Like I never really had. I had imposter syndrome. Everybody has.
Dude,
in everything you do in life, you know.
Right.
But I never felt like this, that I shouldn't be doing this. I never had the moment of, ooh, should I do this? Like it was never a want for me. Like acting and telling stories specifically was a need for me. Like I role played all my life. I played games all my life. I'm a voracious reader. Like I love film and television, so all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, I need to do this. I don't want to do it because wanting isn't enough. Wanting ain't gonna deal with the broke status of most of your life.
Yeah.
Ain't gonna deal with rejection. Ain't gonna deal with the why them and not me. Ain't gonna deal with the years of struggle and toil and challenge and hard work and discipline and all that shit that goes into it. It ain't gonna deal with that, you know. Whereas a need, you have almost no choice. You know,
we talked about last time when we did our row for Village interview. You mentioned want versus need, and I took that. Like I said, I appreciate a lot of your insight because I think it's very honest, and I
oh, thanks, man.
I think you have a good outlook on things. So I took that as like a personal mantra. Yeah, you got the experience.
It's while I wrote this shit out, I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's what I do.
But I took that as a mantra. Want versus need.
It is a mantra.
If you want something, it's not enough.
Yeah.
If you really want
if
it,
you want
then
something
you need
cool. I mean, I could want an ice cream right now.
Yeah.
You know, I could want a back massage right now. I ain't gonna get it.
Yeah.
I could want it. But if you need to do something, you're gonna like go hell to leather just to try and achieve it. And there'll come a time. I never had a moment where I thought I can't do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely had a moment where I thought, shit, I don't know if I can do this in terms of financially. And that would suck to drop out for. I can't afford to be an actor anymore, or whatever. Yeah. But I never had a moment where I thought, do I still want to be an actor? You know, I need to be an actor, whatever, that kind of shit, right?
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, explaining that to, you know, past partners or whatever, or family. It's a trip because you kind of go, well, it's an intrinsic part of who I am.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not going to be
vocation.
Yeah.
No, listen, what we do is not noble, man, in a way. I mean, we don't save the world. We pretend to save the world, and we're entertainers, you know. So let's not beat around the bush. We aren't.
In Neil and I's case, we usually pretend to destroy the world.
Yeah,
well, that too. You know, we're here to destroy the world, maybe. No, but the point is, like, you know, we play doctors, we play heroes and villains and all that stuff.
Villains.
I wouldn't call us heroes or villains necessarily either. In that way, it's just that. But we do entertain, and entertainment, you know, if you're lucky to be a part of a big thing that changes people's attitudes, or a really noble piece, that's great. But unless you wrote it, you know, we're just part of it, man. And if you're lucky, and that's it. You play your role, you're collaborative, you work it out, and hopefully people like it, and that's amazing. That's great. But you know,
hey, let me ask you a question. Do you feel like you were like, how do I say this? Like, you Do you feel like it was that moment in Cats, and then just like the, that moment in Cats, and then just like, coincidences from then on that made you an actor? Or do you feel like you were already destined to be that, and then that moment kind of just aligned you, like that you were something that aligned you or hipped you to something that you could potentially be good at?
Yeah, I think performing, maybe it should be better to open up to performing.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
many different types of performance. that you
Right.
can
Right.
do.
Not
Yeah,
just
yeah.
acting,
Not
performing
just acting, yeah.
as a general.
So performance, I think, is an intrinsic part of a person.
Mhm.
I think you can teach people to act or perform.
Right.
You can, and actors can not learn a craft, but the actors that don't learn a craft are only ever going to get to this potential. And the people that maybe don't have it in them, but can be taught a lot of technicalities and can study hard, great, they can get to much higher than you would necessarily assume they can.
Right.
But I think, and this is my personal opinion, so people might get really fucked off if I say this, but I think there's a strand in a performer that is different to other types of vocations, right? In the same way that a scientist, a really good scientist, has something in them which makes them stand alone, makes them think about the world in a way that I wouldn't, for instance.
Right.
Each person has their thing, and I think performers do have this DNA strand somewhere, possibly damaged, that really is that thing of why it makes sense. Because like what we do is kind of schizophrenic, right? We fictionally live the truth of usually a fictional character in fictional circumstances, doing shit that we ought not to do usually, especially the villains in this. So to believe that, because actors aren't lying, by the way, when they do performance, that's a misnomer. We don't make good liars usually. We play fictional truth, and to get to that level, when it really just flies and you're not doing all this bullshit in your head or your life for the moment, when that really works, it's because you completely believe it within the confines of safety, within the confines of the boundaries of this fictional world. Right. You are alive in that world for that moment. That's when it's gold. That's when it's perfect. That's when it's perfection.
I always say it to myself, man. I always say, dude, I delude myself all the time without realizing it. I can delude myself for a minute that this is actually happening.
See, I would argue you shouldn't use the word delude.
Right.
You should. You can indulge.
What would you indulge?
Indulge.
Yeah. I like that
because it's not. It shouldn't be delusion.
Right. I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
I mean, it's one of those things that. And listen, you're a great character actor, so I'm not saying that.
No, dude.
Because I've seen it. We've worked together. You're amazing.
Yeah.
But to have the jump where Jesse can be Moreau, where I can play Heisenberg, and improvise in the moment, have those organic moments, have impulses that are free flowing. Mm-hmm. You have to you're completely committed to this is my reality right now, and it's completely true. But there's also on top of that the layer of the script. Yeah. And so that's sort of somehow wedded in here. You do your script work, you do rehearsal work, and still tread that line and making it fresh, but knowing it inside out. It's like, it's a fucking trip, dude. It's a little schizophrenic in that way, You're playing somebody else's life,
And that's, I think that's what I love so much about acting is because you're becoming a character. You're joining a fantasy world. You're experiencing all these different things that you'll never experience as yourself. You can be a doctor, you can be a soldier.
One would hope, especially the people that Jesse and I play.
Or you could be a psychopath killer.
Get away with it.
And get away with it.
It's awfully fun sometimes.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I haven't done a lot, but I've done a few projects, some small projects and stuff. But I love the feeling of, like you said, embracing the character, embracing that world, living that truth, and how you phrase that about it's truth within these confines, within these boundaries is a great way to put it. I really think that was like I said, you have great insight. So
thank you. But it's like the suits themselves and the equipment and the stage, it's heavily technical. And the first thing that most actors go through when I consult on a job, or if I'm mentoring them or directing them, or whatever, it gets a bit overwhelming and they feel constrained. Actually, it's quite freeing. First of all, everybody's dressed like in black or gray, with little yarmulkes over it. It's their skeleton. You can pretty much see their genitalia. I'm just going to be honest about that. You're kind of naked in a way, but not, but kind of. That's why there are no flesh-colored suits. I'm just saying.
Yeah, right.
Haven't seen one yet. Don't recommend it. So the point is, it's very neutralizing, which is good, because then you can really believe when you're watching the performance back, the pure craft of that actor. You're not like not taking so much with the costume. You're kind of watching theatre. You know, it's all about the performance and the movement and stuff, and everything is captured. You can't get away with shit in the volume.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, if a marker comes off, you don't go looking for it. You can't even reference it. Look, otherwise, because you'll see that. There's no way of avoiding that.
Yeah.
You can't hide it in a camera angle or whatever, because you don't know where the camera's going to be.
Right. Right.
So, you know, it's a really wonderful experience in that way. I like it.
Yeah, you certainly have to focus.
The truest form of performance, I think.
It's become. I think it is like that. Yeah. I don't think that's not to knock theatre and film, TV, which I think is wonderful. But by itself, you could describe it as a pure form of acting. Absolutely.
Isn't that wild how full circle that comes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Because ultimately, dude, it's just fucking character work. It's acting.
Right.
It's acting just in a different medium, in a different way.
Yeah,
There's a fourth dimension to it,
for
which
sure.
is not present in anything
I'll
else.
I'll tell you that in my cut scenes with Moreau, like there was moments like that I wanted to make sure that I was in Todd's face and that the close up was the way I wanted it, you know, and the coverage was there. And
you
then
don't need to do that shit.
well, what I mean is like not like, but like it's like I understood where everything was and that he was the face camera, and so like I used like in the same way I would if we were.
Oh, I see what you mean, because
movie.
Todd being the face camera. I see. I thought you meant like the virtual camera floating anywhere. Yeah.
No. Because Todd is like the head camera.
Yeah.
And so I'm addressing him, and I know that like it's his POV. And so I'm using like the way I, you know, move my head as if like him looking at me is the coverage, right? Like I'm
sure, it's camera technique. You're just you're being aware of the camera, but it's actually the camera's a real person.
And then it's wild, right? Because then you go back and watch the cut scene, and then I'm watching the scene, and I'm like, I see the close up. Yeah. Like I see the moment, even though it's Moreau, even though he looks nothing like me. Yeah. You know, I as an actor can actually pinpoint my bit of acting in that moment where I did something deliberate. Like the minutia now is that.
Yeah, that's the thing. The fidelity is so good now because we used to have to do more theatrical movements. Like I played first big job I did was 30K from Ghost Recon, Ubisoft's thing, and we were told to go slightly larger than life. Right. So like the gestures were much bigger, the characterization, the swagger, and all that kind of shit. Right. And then gradually, bit by bit, it's become more like combination of theatre and film, but with less theatrical acting, unless you're playing a theatrical character, obviously. There's less theatrics, more like naturalism and realism, which is great because then you don't have to worry about that extra layer of stuff. The movements still are more. I think you have to play it with more intent. It can't be arbitrary. Like you can't. Like you could never do mumblecore in mocap or in performance capture. It just doesn't work. Like you can improvise and you can have an impulse. But you kind of also still need that specificity to be able to like just go, that's the intent. Because it reads so clearly that if you don't understand what you're doing, that reads too. Right. So, which is great if you want to use that, because I've used that a few times. Like I have no idea what I'm doing, but the character doesn't either. Great, let's just go into that, and then you know it's easy. Then it's like I have no idea what I'm doing. It works.
Yeah. Your stunt performance and your motion cap work is a lot of physicality. Just watching the show reel, a lot of martial arts background, some parkour background. Is that stuff that you trained when you were younger, or something you've acquired along the way?
A bit of both. I was a geek as a kid. I was also bullied very badly. So before I started growing like fucking insanity, I grew like crazy.
Didn't they know how beautiful you were?
I was a bit of an oddball, really. I was into theatre. I wasn't into football. I hated fucking sports. But I was the size of a sports player by the time I was 15, 16. So they shoved me into like rugby teams and shit. And yeah, you know, it's all right, but you know, I used to go and play role play games on the weekends with my mates, and the bullying got bad, and then it got pretty heavy, and then also I started getting attacked by men on the street because like I'm adults, I was 6 foot, looking kind of like this, as broad as I am now, and like I used to get to fights with men, and I was like, I'm 14 years old. Okay, my voice broke at 11, which is a bit weird. I know that, and honestly, these people are my friends, not my brothers, but it got fucking heavy. So I started doing martial arts. Plus, I used to do ballet as a kid and play the cello and shit like that. And that's not cool where I come from. Well, then it wasn't that cool, you know, back in the 80s, 90s to.
Doesn't it suck how much shit that like we were into when we were kids? Like I was very artistic as a kid too, and it was like it wasn't
cool then. Yeah,
it got talked out of me.
Well, yeah. Luckily, my mum was very supportive about the arts, and she knew I wasn't into sports, and was like, you know, okay.
Yeah, thank God for my mom.
Great, because she sort of indulged me in the arts, which is awesome, and took me to exhibitions and shit like that. So I was lucky that I had a parent that really got me. My dad's a sports journalist, so for him it was like heartbreaking. It's like, I'm like, oh, you don't want to do sport, do you? Not even a little bit. Okay. You want me to tell your teacher I'm a sports journalist? You want me to go and tell your teacher that my son? I don't want to. Okay. You sure? You sure you don't want just a bit of rugby? No, cross country,
just a little something.
bit of hockey, perhaps. No. All right. Okay. Shit. It was like that was like Dad's reaction.
Cussing at your growth spurt, looking at you, being like, "How?"
Yeah,
Why
not?
I was like, no, I don't want to do rugby anymore, Dad. I just fucking hated team sports. Man. It wasn't my bag. But I got into martial arts and I was good at it because I really fucking loved it, and it also helped me out as well, and it's definitely helped me out over the years and on a personal level.
Yeah.
But it taught me confidence and discipline, and taught me how to like hard work. Well, I have a good diligent attitude anyway, but yeah, martial arts were great, and I'm really glad that I found it when I did.
You know, how much of those like that stuff? Because like I boxed and I wrestled growing up, and how much of those like those extracurricular, I don't know if you want to call them that, but those interests that we have, how much do you think those build your craft as an actor, or more than acting?
I think acting is basically to do with anything to do with humanity.
Right.
I think any physical skill, from DIY to horse riding to playing an instrument, all that shit. At some point, if you're lucky, if you work, if you're good, then you'll use that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I was doing my own stunts in TV and film a lot, and some heavy shit as well. It wasn't like just like, a fight scene. It was like some stair rolls, explosions and shit like that. And I wasn't a stunt performer. I was an actor, but I had these skill sets and I could prove it. And so stunt coordinators were very cool with me doing a lot of that stuff. So I was lucky. I picked up all these skills as a kid because I was kind of geeky, or I was being bullied, or I liked archery, or I liked sword work and all that kind of stuff. And then it sort of grew from there. I was in like cadet army and shit like that for a while. And, that kind of stuff, like when I was 16 to 19. So all that kind of stuff, like learning how to shoot properly, learning how to like orientate, learning military stuff, was all useful. And obviously I've trained since, and I go gun training every year with people that sometimes who are special forces, or people that are very, very good with particular guns or what have you, and I learn a lot from them, and I'm open and receptive. But that's also been my whole career. Like I learned a lot of martial arts stuff from different disciplines, from people that would teach me. I don't do that particular discipline, but I know how to do these things that can incorporate into a fight, all that kind of stuff. I absorb, and I also observe a lot. Right. So all actors do. Good actors.
I'd say the better I get as an actor is the more of a generalist I become. Right, like the more fascinated. Or fascinated. No, fascinated is the thing you put.
No,
but it's like curiosity is really the driving force behind it, right?
Yeah, I think, and you shouldn't. It's not like a forced thing. Again, it comes back to the DNA of a performer. Like you can get trained to observe people, but there should also be something in you that is interested in human beings.
Right.
Yeah. Like you can be introverted as an actor. You can be like socially a bit awkward, but you should still be fascinated with humanity.
Yeah, I mean, look at the way you described meeting what's his name from Cats. You know what I mean?
Just blessed, yeah.
Yeah, and just like the way, but even the words that come out of your mouth, the way you articulate describing meeting him is that of like an artist or an observer. It's like you saw his essence. You saw this man. You describe him as half man, half imagination.
Man.
Yeah,
right.
Half man, half imagination. It's a great way.
Yeah, which is great, by the way. That's a great way.
Thank you. Yeah, it was sort of how it felt. But actually, funny enough, I bumped into him. I was doing a photo shoot for a TV series I was on, and he was doing a photo shoot for a thing called Z Cars, which was this huge show back in the 50s. And I saw him, and I was like, fuck. I was like, it's Brian fucking Blessed. And I was like, well, I'm doing this thing over here, and he's doing that thing over there. So we're kind of on the same, not the same level, but like I'm an actor, he's an actor. So I sort of went, and I looked in my bag and I was like, I need him to sign something, man. All I had was a copy of RC Sheriff's Journey's End. I was like, I am such a fucking cliche. I was like, I am such a fucking walking cliche. I was like, hi, Mr. Brian Blessed. And I told him the story of how he met. I said, there's no way you would ever remember me, because why would you? But you are the inspiration for me getting into acting, and could you sign something? And he wrote me this. You heard my story. He talked to you. Oh, that's very kind, because he shouts even when he whispers, right? That's very nice of you to say this. Oh, how wonderful! Are you working? Well, obviously. Oh, very good. He's literally like a foot away from you. Yeah. Amazing. And he wrote this like really nice message, and he put a little picture of like him in a suit of the Grumpy Cat shit. I still got it, man. But it was like, yeah, there's just, I don't know, there's something about it. Like, and especially now as an older actor, especially being a veteran in performance capture, like people have always given me stuff, given me inspiration, given me advice, given me techniques, helped me, taken risks on me. So now I get to be in a position of doing that. And I started directing a few years ago, so I am directing now, which is great. We're a production company, we help people out, we mentor people, we advise people as well a lot. And it's nice to be able to pay that back, respectfully. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious about the production company. When did you
Mm.
get this idea that you wanted to mentor and teach?
I was invited to a company that doesn't exist anymore called the Mocap
Oh.
Academy, and
Mhm.
that doesn't run anymore. And I was invited to be another support teacher, another mentor on it, because their main mentor, I think, had left for a while and was
Okay.
coming back, but had left. So the owner of it invited me to that. That's how I started with that. And it got to a point where it was just like, it was great, and I liked working with them. But I felt it a little constraining because I had a lot of ideas I wanted to do, and they weren't really sure they wanted to do that. So after a certain while, it was like, listen, I can't, I need to do my own thing now. So I'm going to branch off. At that point, I've been mentoring people like 4 years, and in between, obviously still working the whole time. And we created like courses, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of getting close to the kind of course that I really want to like make. This is all my own stuff in that respect. I made the courses up.
Mhm.
And so in 2018, I branched from that one and said, thank you very much. It's been great. And made my own one, which is Performance Captured Academy. And I've taught in Switzerland and LA and all across, UK. We're going to do some other European stuff this year as well, which is great. And I've also come on board as a consultant now anyway. So I sort of do that as part of my job as a performer or director. And I like it. I really enjoy it. It's really fun. It's interesting seeing people go through the shit that I went through when I was studying.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, yeah, I know exactly how that's going to end up. It
Yeah.
ain't going to be good. It's like, yep, that's going to be like that, folks. But I really get a kick out of it. And also, we hire certainly for our academy, we only hire currently working professionals.
Okay.
So everybody that comes on board as freelancer, what have you, in the company, they're all working in other things. Because I feel like for me to do workshops, for me to do these mini courses or longer combat course, which we did a Mordhouse sword course, which was cool, for 12 weeks. I only want people that are working now, or ideally, I mean, obviously, if somebody's having a bad time, that's different, but are essentially professional working. I don't want teachers. I want mentors who are concurrently working, because then they are in the industry that these people are trying to get in.
Yeah.
I feel it's remiss to not have that. And that's not a new idea. This is like not original or anything. Many people do that. But for me personally, and also the other ethos was transparency. Right. So, we've never tried to tell somebody, oh, you can do all these things, when clearly their body is not like that. And clearly they are maybe 60, 50 years old, and they're not going to start doing Krav Maga or hardcore BBJ, or BBJ is not useful. So they're not going to learn parkour, probably. Because they've got a bad knee and a bad back. It's not their future. But we're going to teach them mocap so they understand the foundation, knowing that they probably only really focused on performance capture, which there is more work now anyway. So we had a lot of ethos. Same thing with production company. We wanted transparency all the way. We don't ever sort of like to bullshit people. And also, if people ask my opinion, I'm going to give it because I think it's fair. Doesn't always help. There's been moments where I've had to go, well, that was my opinion. I don't like it, but that's what it was. Yeah. So I think it's difficult sometimes to retain honesty and retain fairness and equality in that way, to say this is it and that's everything. There's no secrets, no magic. It's just that's it. Right. Yeah. So that's our ethos anyway. So how I am as a person, anyways.
Because that's good, because like me as an actor, and then also looking to teachers, like I don't know, like just transparency. Like when you said that as a guy who was an actor, and then describing that, I'm like, man, that's a good word to use to acting students. You know what I mean? Because it really is a mixed bag when you get out there and you try and figure out who you can learn from. And there's a lot of people that have like sort of, their own ideas of how the business works, and it's always
I ended up with a teacher who had a cult of personality around.
That's really what it comes down to most of the time. Yeah.
But I also found another teacher who's actually one of my oldest friends as well, Giles Foreman. He's got Giles Foreman Centre of Acting in London and also Paris. I think they have a place in New York, or at least they're affiliated in New York. Roberta Wallach is a teacher with them, who's in New York in the studio there. Lisa Strasberg's studio, I think she is. Right. they teach in Japan. They teach he teaches all over the world, and he was an amazing teacher. He also helped me. He also kind of taught me how to be a teacher. You know, he gave me the ethics and ethoses that he believes in. That you criticize constructively, you don't let them get away with shit, but you do it all with love. You do it from a support position that says, you want to be an actor, you need to be an actor. Cool. I'm not going to question that. I'm not going to say maybe you should fucking think about giving it up, which some teachers do, which is bullshit, by the way.
It's not our place to do.
Not your fucking place to do that. And also there's a duty of care to support the student. Okay, you can't just leave them in peace and say, go to a fucking therapist. You can say, go to a therapist, but you also have to support them with a duty of care, right? So I was very lucky that I had an amazing acting coach teacher anyway. And it's not just him, but Linda Nyquist and also Roberta Wallach and a whole bunch of people that work with him. I was very lucky in that sense for like 10 years. But he also taught me how to teach with love whilst not letting people get away with dick. You know? That's bullshit, but you know, we're here for you. Let's talk about it. You know what I mean? As opposed to you're terrible and awful and shit.
And sometimes people need to hear that. They need to hear their limitations, at least not limitations or but someone needs a reality check. Yeah. Sometimes a reality check.
I would say, issues and blockages.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Yeah.
Like there's there's always a way through, around, under, or above. You know, there's always something you can do to find a way through that. I mean, acting and tools and methodology and all that stuff, all they are, including acting, is just to get to the truth of the character and to live the character truthfully away from your habits and into theirs.
Right.
So whether you're using this thing or that thing or this thing or playing the line, whatever the fucking thing is, it doesn't matter. Nobody needs to know about it. And quite frankly, if an actor starts telling me, oh, well, I'm doing this now for my character because my character needs to do, whilst they're fucking doing it, it's like, you don't know what you're doing. You're just grasping for like fucking air, man. You are floundering right now. You're telling me that shit. Then either you don't know me or like,
that ain't how it happened.
only one actor has ever done that on a performance captures.
If an actor tries, good for you.
It's like, dude, I studied method 4 years. I studied love, and I studied like I was a dancer. I used to battle. I know exactly what the fuck you're doing. Just shut the fuck up and do it.
Yeah, just do it. You know what's so funny is it's like you never know where you're gonna pull from, anyways, right? Like you might like that's what I find about acting so often is that the notion of inspiration. It's like I studied all these years. I did this thing, and then it was the dude who worked at the corner store when I was 8 years old with the glass eye.
Whatever the thing is, or an effective memory of a teddy bear breaking in your hands, or whatever the thing that pops into you. It's like it's no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah, you just
apart from rhyme or reason to you, and that's the only thing that matters.
Which is like focus and discipline.
Yeah, like we know people ask in interviews, which is very flattering to ask about my work in the first place, about like my inspiration for the voice or this and the other. And now that I've finished the role, happily talking about it. I don't think it's that interesting personally, but people are interested in it. So cool, you know, this is what I did. And unless I'm going to play the character again with huge certainty, then I might not go into it too much because I want to still use it, right?
Right.
But like with Heisenberg, you know, he's kind of dead. Pretty sure he's dead.
Just a little.
A little bit. I'm pretty sure the dude's not coming back. So I'm happy to talk about him because, like, you know, that stuff was fun, and you know, I made some choices which were arguably quite batshit crazy, but for me they made sense.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. I just think it's like, you know, actors beware.
What was your
don't talk about being an actor, just be an actor, man.
What would you say? Like, I don't know if you use this vocabulary. Like, what was your through line on Heisenberg? You know what I mean? Like, what was it? Like for me, like for Moreau, it was like I knew he was a good man deep down inside, right? Like,
yeah, my through line was like he's made a terrible mistake, but he's in it, and now he's got to get out of it. So how the fuck does he get out of it?
That's how you build desperation as an actor.
It's all actionable. It's all about
that?
action.
Yeah. Anyone who wants to know how to act, you see how that thought he had was actionable.
Well, I also think the thing is there's a danger with acting, and some types of mediums suffer more because they just push that way for some reason because it's heightened reality, I guess. But actors shouldn't play emotions. You play actions.
Okay.
And the actions you take with the inspirations you have, the impulses you have, and techniques you're using, blah, 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 lead you to the emotion. There's no target. The target you hit is the target you're going to hit. Okay. You don't aim for it. You're just pulling the bow and doing if you pull, it's like Zen, man. It's like you notch the bow, pull the bow, fire the bow absolutely as you're supposed to. It will hit the target.
The inner game
target
of tennis.
that is, whatever target that is like, well, that's the target you were going to hit. So, you know, we don't play emotions. Like if somebody says, it's hard because sometimes you get a direction note from somebody who may not work with actors too much.
Right.
Saying, I just need you to be angry in this scene. It's like, cool. how
Yeah, what
much
kind
anger?
of angry?
Like
what's
you
my
ate
level?
my last sweet, or you're fucking my partner. Like, where are we talking about? Here?
I
We're in a
usually like
modern
watch the
society.
way the director says it to try and gain what they're trying to tell me. It's almost like
Yeah,
in
you
their
have
character,
to.
he's like this, and I'm like, okay, I get it. The guy's using
He's
his
like
marble,
this.
Yeah,
you know.
He's like, he's got these balls. And he's
Ah,
like,
but then I'm like, okay, yeah, I get what you mean. He's like, you know,
you know, I'm playing
you
a
know,
priest, right? Yeah, I mean, listen, you know, not to knock any directors, says be a bit more angry over, because it's again, that's actionable in a way.
You
just have
never
to have
know,
clarity.
dude.
You have
Yeah.
to have clarity, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
What
Maybe
So
that
actors
director has a
play
great
action.
vision, just doesn't know how to talk to actors.
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
never know.
You get that
know?
too. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a communication thing. You know,
Yeah.
definitely good directors like Steve Knievel is a great example. He knows
Yeah.
exactly how to talk to actors to
Yeah.
get the best out of them, but also he understands the process of acting. You know,
Mhm.
I think that's valuable for anybody that wants to become a director. Learn how to act.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Know how to act. You don't have to be an actor, but know how the process works. You
Right.
know, you should be able to do that.
What is a through line? You guys both said that. What is a through line?
Through line is like it's kind of like a base. It's like a kind of marker. Imagine you're out in the ocean and somebody throws you like a life-saving, like one of those rings.
Yeah.
And you grab onto it. And now the ocean might calm and you might be able to swim out, but then it might get rough again.
Uh-huh.
And as long as you know what that thing is, you can go back to it and reference it.
Right. You can always
So if
hold
you were
on to
really
it.
in fucking trouble, you can go back to this and go, okay, well, I know that the through line, the overriding super objective, or the through line for this character, what he needs the most, or what he wants or desires
Exactly.
the most is this. How can
Right.
I apply that in this moment? You
Right.
know?
Okay.
Right.
You know, like, for instance, Heisenberg, you know, it's like,
Perfectly articulated.
you and me,
Yeah.
Ethan, let's go get Rose. We can use her to grind around her to paste.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that's the fucking thing. That's the bottom line, is that's why I want you. I could give a shit about you and your daughter, but I will let you go and not kill you if you give me the one fucking thing that I want, which is my freedom.
Right. To
Right.
get away from Miranda.
Which is the need. The need is to be free. for
Right.
Okay.
instance. The want
Right.
is you help me.
Yeah.
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 And then you can see with Moreau, the need was to be loved, but the want. And so it's like, but I gotta get this to show
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I'm as good as the others, you know, because
Sure.
he's
So
this,
the overriding need is
you know, and he's the
Huh.
most sensy one. He's the sensitive little flower out of them all.
He's pretty sensitive. He is very
You know,
sensitive.
he is, yeah.
sensitive
and-
freak.
yeah, and he's a freak and he's a monster, but like, right, but like that's a through line, and that's the great thing is when you have a good through line like that, you can hang on to that in such a way that you get to play opposites,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, so you can be
Yeah.
massively violent, but you're coming from a place of love,
Yeah.
right?
it's
Like
the
I'm trying to
anchor,
kill
yeah.
a guy because I love somebody.
The anchor
And
of the
that
character.
comes into the character work as
Yeah.
well, because the
Sure.
aim is to, if when appropriate, you often is to do what you ought not to do.
Mhm.
That's
Right.
the trick. That's the aim, is to like try and break your habits and break your fucking life issues.
Great
Because
way
here's
to
the
say
thing,
it.
right? People always say, I'm sure you get this as well, Jesse. People say, do you prefer playing villains or this, that, and the other? It's like, I don't see them as villains.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're not villains. They're motivated people with questionable morals,
Right.
but they have a very clear sense of what they do, and usually they're having more fun than anybody.
Oh yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
So
what
to
most people
me,
say.
that's
Villains
like-
have more fun.
Ever
They
since Othello,
do.
ever since Iago and Othello.
Shit, mine was Romeo and Juliet, man. I played Tybalt. A friend of mine
Oh,
played
wow.
Mercutio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we died the first scene, like after
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first scene, second act, right, or third act, whatever it is. And so that was that. He and I would then just go to the pub. So we'd be sitting there going, and we'd be in full outfits as well. I've been wearing like head to toe Gucci, and he's like, you know, all this kind of shit. We look great. And we just think they're going, this is brilliant. We have the most fun of anybody.
Being
We
a
get all
villain's
the
fun,
fight
man.
Yeah.
sequences and shit, apart
Yeah.
from the last. We get to do whatever the fuck we like within the confines of the story, and we get to be as cruel and as funny as we want to be. as
And
well.
people love you for
Now
it.
we get a pint. Well, the
Yeah.
thing finishes. As long as we can set our timers to get back in time.
Right. Get back into it.
It's fucking brilliant. It's great.
Funny story about that. In high school, we used to do this every other year. It would be a Renaissance festival at my school.
Yeah.
And in the afternoon, they would set up and people would do performances and plays. And the morning was all going about and seeing all the Renaissance type stuff they brought in. And our freshman year, we wanted to do the fight scene with Tybalt, Romeo, and Mercutio.
Yeah, it's a fun scene. Man.
Yeah, so my buddy was my good friend Sev, who's done some work with me on the row and stuff, and he was Tybalt. My other good friend was Mercutio, and I was Romeo. And
I mean, it's a tough role, man. Fuck that.
luckily, it was just, my whole thing was the fight. I didn't have to do much of a
Right,
fight. It was just the fight
It's
scene.
a tough role, bro.
Yeah, the choreography
Totally,
was
dude.
it was just that one scene, and we made some swords. They were full on like metal swords, but they were more like fencing swords.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
We had those. I had this old musket for some reason that was. We just brought it for the fun of it. It was because there was a little bit of comedy in there. There's a point where Mercutio loses his sword, and he says, "Throw me a weapon." So somebody throws him the rifle, and he throws it back and smacks the guy like, this is not the appropriate weapon. And we
What
took
is this thing?
Yeah, right, right. We took this whole fight scene
Nerf
through the
gun.
auditorium, up and down the aisles. I mean, we were
That's
doing
great.
jumps
That's
off
cool.
the stage and just all kinds of like,
Fun stuff, man.
yeah. The final kill for Tipple, like he goes to stab me, I lost my sword, so I basically take it and I break
Just
his
bite
grip.
him to death.
I spin it around, I stab him, and it was just awesome. It was such a cool experience. But yeah, that was my play as Romeo. I got to
Yeah,
kill
and
Tipple.
it's the thing about theatre. When shit goes wrong, sometimes you have the best moment.
Yeah.
Right.
I had that quite a few times. Where
Oh yeah.
you had to suddenly think very creatively.
Yeah.
And actually that skill has transferred to performance capture, because like today, I can't tell you about the project's NDA, but we had a few things that we really had to work out. Well, how the fuck can we do that? Because that's like quite an elaborate stunt and we can break it up and blah, blah, blah. But how the fuck do we do that? And actually when you work it out, it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's actually presented a different possibility, and that's how we can do this. But also we could do this as well. So, there's a lot of stuff. That's why it's good for actors to be theatre trained and film trained.
Right.
Train or whatever. When you come
Learn
into
it
film
all,
stuff,
baby.
learn it all, baby. I get a lot of questions from actors saying, how do I do mocap and become a voice actor and become a mocap actor? It's like, be an actor.
Right.
Yeah, just be an actor.
Firstly, be an actor.
The first thing I always say,
that.
find an acting class and start taking it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Local
Or
theater.
amateur
you have to.
dramatics or high school shit. Or,
Seriously.
Yeah, I've heard that too. A lot of people I've talked to is always the first step when they ask about how do I become an actor, or people usually, because I do a lot of anime and game stuff, is how do I become a voice actor? And the first thing is you're not a voice actor, you are an actor.
Yeah, an actor does voice.
And start with some training. Go to local classes. There's workshops you can get to. You could take classes at the college. Get into
There's
local
a plethora
theater.
of books online.
Local theater groups are a big plus if you can get in and just go watch a lot too. Go watch a lot of not just movies, watch plays, study. Think when you're watching a show or a film, think about how it was made.
That's how you got to do it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying about the internet, man. It's a one. We have the world's knowledge at our fingertips, and there's a lot of free shit. Which which is
I know we're so
lot of free
lucky.
shit. You just have to find it.
The digital age. So social media at Neil Newbon for Twitter.
Pretty much everything I've got is Neil Newbon. I even have a TikTok account I will never use, which is called Neil Newbon.
So everything is at Neil. Instagram's the same. What about Twitch?
The whole smorgasbord of stuff.
Twitch is Neil Newbon as well.
Twitch is Neil Newbon. Yeah, I was very lucky. Now I was unknown and nobody give a fuck when I got my.
Are you still streaming, or is it just?
I am not much because I'm tired. I am still doing. a bit of streaming. I'm not a professional streamer, but I will carry on doing because it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun
and it's also a good way for me to understand what's going on in the industry because I get to play games that I may not have caught or played or whatever. But I'm not professional. It's just not like it's not going to be like every single day or 4 times a week forever. Only, obviously in quiet periods I'll stream more, but right now it's crazy busy. I might stream like once or twice a week, maybe. Maybe. At some point I won't be streaming at all. So for a period of time. But you can still catch me on Twitch under Neil Newbon. Yeah.
Okay. So Neil Newbon across all social media. Make sure you follow if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, if you're not already followed. Thank you, Neil.
If my ASMR voice has not sent you to lullaby sleep. Hi, it's Neil Newbon. Welcome to a boring interview with me. Let me lull you into a quiet slumber as my voice drones on about how little I know about acting. Here we see.
Put me to sleep.
The last person.
You could probably narrate anything. I'd be like, that's true. That's the truth. If Neil narrates it, it's the truth. It's the accent. The accent is always great.
The funny thing with the accent's got me out of a lot of shit in America.
Oh, I bet it has.
Yeah. Especially with especially in South Central, actually. Also had a couple other moments of one thing it does do is that when you have an RP accent, especially an RP accent, an English accent, people think you're intelligent, and you may not be. As long as you're reasonably verbose, if you have a reasonable vocabulary and an RP accent, you can get away with of course the Earth is flat. It's been proven. Oh, really? Oh, I thought it was. Oh, but I thought the flat earthers were crazy. No, that's what the other people won't use to think. Actually, there's a lot of science behind it. Let me talk you through the science. Like,
Oh, you're
okay,
funny, man.
okay.
And then next thing you know,
I'm
it
not
is
saying the
flat.
Earth is flat. The Earth is not flat. It's bullshit. If you're a flat earther, God bless you. But just do maths. Do just basic fucking geometry. I don't know how to explain this to you, but it can't be flat. And the idea that other planets aren't flat and the Earth is the only flat planet is also bullshit. I just can't express this enough. And God bless you for wanting to be different and think about it, and thinking there's some kind of crazy conspiracy that so many millions of people are, like coronavirus is also a thing. You know, it would take a good 100 million nurses and doctors and health workers across multiple countries, some of whom don't like each other, to be a part of it. I'm just saying, you know, just it's okay.
Sometimes it's okay to believe.
It's okay,
but
just, the Earth is not fucking flat.
Sometimes just use your brain.
Yeah.
Use your brain.
Use your brain.
Use your brain.
Jesse, what about your social media?
Pimentel.jesse for Instagram.
Okay.
It's Pimentel.jesse for Instagram, and then it's the same for Twitter.
Same thing.
That's all I got right now. Yeah. That's
Okay.
all I'm rocking right now.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys for hanging out. Jesse, thank you for coming on and being my co-host. We're going to do a lot more of these. We're going to kick off
It's
BTF.
great.
We're going to be
Good luck,
awesome.
you two, man.
Thank
Great
you.
time, man. Great
And Neil,
time.
thank you for being our first guest back on this new
Hey, I broke your cherry.
re-emerging.
Neil, you're the best, man. Thank you
I
so
hope
much.
I was
dude.
gentle yet firm.
You were perfect.
You were perfect.
You like,
Unforgettable.
you like the ambiance and the Japanese little panel.
Yeah.
I felt very cared
romantic,
for. It
Very
was
cared
great.
for.
That's
Very
okay.
gentle.
I'm not going to call you again. But
No. Well, I wouldn't
I hope
expect you
it's
to.
special enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening, for watching. If you're watching this video, or if you're going to listen to it later as a podcast, thank you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned some things. Dive deeper into your fandoms that you love. If you didn't know who Neil was, make sure you go follow him now and support his work, because Neil is amazing.
Thank you very much. Thank
Same
you.
thing with Jesse. You're going to learn a lot more about Jesse as we go on. So thank you guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. We'll see you here next time at the BTF podcast.
Yeah.
All right. See you, folks.